You're subject to victimization. Victimization by the public. Victimization by the police. Victimization by other homeless people. Victimization by stupid college kids. Because mommies and daddies taught them that everything that's wrong with the world is because of homeless people. If a child gets molested, it's homeless people's fault. If you're broke, it's homeless people's fault. If the government has taken too much of your money, it's the homeless people's fault. If you're drinking a 30-pack of beer a night, it's the homeless people's fault. Now, there are certain levels of humanity that are acceptable. If somebody has money, they get more points for being human. If somebody is broke, they get less points as a human. If they have a roof over their head, that's 10 points. If they're homeless, that's negative 10 points. If they're good looking, there's 10 points. If they're not attractive, negative 10 points. If they have a twitch, negative 10 points. If they wear nice clothes, plus 10 points. If they're wearing rags, negative 10 points. If they're wearing fancy perfume, plus 10 points. If they stink to high heaven, negative 10 points. If they do your drug of choice, no matter what it is, heroin, meth, alcohol, popping pills from the pharmacy, plus 10 points. If they do a drug that you're against, negative 10 points. If they have the same interests as you, plus 10 points. If they have different interests than you, negative 10 points. If they have the same gender as you, plus 10 points. If they have a different gender than you, negative 10 points. If they have the same skin color, plus 10 points. If they have a different skin color, negative 10 points. They speak the same language, plus 10 points. They speak a different language, negative 10 points. If they got a nice vehicle, plus 10 points. If they don't have a vehicle, negative 10 points. Each one of them points, positive or negative, is social acceptability and bias. The more of those points you acquire, the less likely the cops are to fuck with you. This is all superficial bullshit. Has nothing to do with human beings and human rights. It has to do with money and who it's okay to victimize, who it's easiest to victimize. The number one people victimized by the police are the homeless. Most of the homeless are people who grew up in the system. Most of them because of the choices their parents made, but you tell them they chose it. You chose to be homeless. I'm going to tell you, right now there's a black boy over on the East Coast who just turned 18 in a foster home. He's got no driver's license. He's got no ID. He's got the clothes on his back. He's got no vehicle. He's got no roof. And by the end of the week, he's probably going to be sitting in jail because it's illegal for him to exist. Because he's homeless. Because he's male. Because he's a minority. We have how it's supposed to work on paper, but in reality, none of it works like that. Because these aren't law-abiding robots. These are human beings with their own wants, needs, and desires. Their own expectations. Their own loyalties. Their own idea of what honor really is. Their own set of morality. Their own set of standards. They're not going to judge you based on whether or not you're guilty or innocent. Because they're not going to know whether you're guilty or innocent unless they look at all sides and take all evidence. And they don't do that when they've already assumed your guilt. When you try to turn in one of their buddies, they're going to automatically assume your guilt and prevent you by all means necessary from making a police report. I needed somebody actually in my corner, not people telling me that they were in my corner and doing nothing. People telling me that they did things that there's no evidence at all that they even made an effort. Mandy Hughes, she tried to send me some money for my telephone when I was in Arapahoe County Jail. Had I received that money, I would have been able to make a call to Miss Peaches, and I would have been able to get myself out on a PR bond and go somewhere safe. But that money never showed up. And somebody should talk to Mandy Hughes about that. This is something that we need a special commission assigned to, because it happened across multiple states, multiple jurisdictions. And no officer would take my report. No facility would take my report. And here's the problem. There's 7 cases that I've noticed where people have fought the police and won or are winning, have won phase 1 of their issues because they won the case against them. Now they got to try to win a case against the officers. There are a number of institutions in specific that the police send people to who try to turn in bad cops. All of these people endured the same exact treatment that I did. The being assaulted and charged with assault. They were assaulted by the police. They were charged with assault. They tried, you can hear Michelle asking for an actual police officer, same as I did. Same officer assaulted her, assaulted me. Tried to break my fucking wrist. Darren O'Connor knew about it. He should have come forward. But also, Lisette Brown is a mandatory reporter. It's illegal for her not to take a report on it. That's the thing. Mandatory reporting doesn't matter when it's a police officer who does it. Who do you go to? You go to the state patrol, they don't do shit. You go to their fucking supervisor, they don't do shit. They make excuses and treat you like a criminal. Make every excuse why they can't take your report. They assaulted me so they wouldn't have to. Those officers on the 6th of January of last year who assaulted me, including Officer Lolatai, knew that I had been harassed by Boulder officers for 5 full days prior to that. That I had been trying to tell them about the assaults and the threats. These officers knew this. I've talked to probably 30 officers, supervisors, and they all have the same MO. They treat you like a criminal for trying to turn in their officers and make excuses why their illegal and immoral actions are justified. Yeah, it's all right that Officer Lolatai assaulted you last January because last August you lit a fire. No, I lit that fire because the abuse continues.